just a little more rear to it. So that's just one of the adjustments that these guys can make. And you know what? You may adjust it over the course of a run. You may put more front brake in it when you're full of fuel with all the weight in the rear. And as you burn that fuel load off, then you may have to crank a little rear brake into it. One correction, Gil Martin is now the crew chief of the 29 car. Richard keeps swapping crew chiefs on me.
Yeah, but Larry, you said this is one of the adjustments for the drivers. You guys won't let us have any other adjustments in the car.
Well, there's a reason.
And you know what?
Y'all can't even keep up with how many times you turn this knob.
McReynolds won't let you have any toys either. He's got all of them, including the one you just saw. It's the TNT off-track race car presented by Toyota. We showed you Tony Stewart on pit road. He was in a bit early. Everyone else should be pitting under green when we return. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. TNT tonight. It's a new season and a new reason to get more leverage. Don't miss an all-new Leverage 2-hour event tonight, 9/8 Central, only on TNT. Kasey Kahne has looked good the last couple of weeks. Back-to-back top 5 finishes at Michigan and the Infineon Raceway 1 week ago. Has taken driver number 9 from 23rd to 18th in the championship standings. He's back in the discussion in regard to the chase for the Sprint Cup. And he's flexing his muscles here today. Took over the lead at lap 36. He's been out front for the last 60 laps here at New Hampshire.
About a second behind him, though, is that 48 car. And that 48 car is on its way to the front. He has been very fast over the last 5 or 6 laps. I've been watching the times. And he is hooked up right now. And looked awfully hooked up in practice as well.
And you know what, guys, what I'm seeing watching the score monitor, Wally, it looks like you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. Is most laps that 48 beats the 9 about 1 to 2 tenths. But it looks like about the time he catches him, we're going to be right on top of green flag pit stops, which should come in the next 8 to 10 laps.
Last time these teams were on pit road under caution at lap 36. That was our only caution of the day for debris. 37 of the cars that started this race still on track and running. The lead for Kasey Kahne just over a second in front of Jimmy Johnson. In fact, as they cross the start-finish line, 0.8 of a second the advantage for Kahne. Talked a lot in 2010. One of the great storylines, the turnaround at Richard Childress Racing. They were good a week ago out west at Sonoma. Didn't get rewarded for their efforts in most situations, but they've looked good here this weekend. And I'll tell you, Hendrick Motorsports maybe has lost a little bit of their appeal because of the run that Joe Gibbs Racing has been on and the RCR bunch. But as you saw there, they've been good today as well.
But you know, those 3 organizations have been the organizations. You look at it and you look at Childress, you look at Gibbs, you look at Hendricks, and you know, sometimes we don't give enough credit to Earnhardt Ganassi. These guys won the Daytona 500. You know, and you look at what they've done and where they've been, and they run the Earnhardt Ganassi engines. So they're the same thing as the Childress. So they're right there knocking on that door. As we see the 48 car, he is knocking right on the door right here of the lead.
It's gone from a second to 0.2 of a second in the last 4 laps. Talking about the advantage for Kasey Kahne. Johnson has not led a lap today.
Yeah, he took 2, correct?
Johnson took 4.
Kasey took 2.
Yes, he did.
And Jimmy took 4. So that's, you're starting to see a little bit of that right now, especially at the end of a run.
Yeah, and especially at the end of the run, where the 4 tires are going to show up is more. And I was surprised at the beginning of this run with the 2, or excuse me, with the 9 and the 42. The 42 gained within about a second of him and really couldn't get any closer than the 9 car. Maintained, you see him right there in that shot. They've maintained that interval pretty much since they dropped the green flag on this run.
Jimmy Johnson continues to close the gap on the leader, Kasey Kahne.
You can see the 48. Well, he's got the 82. Kasey lost a little bit of time there with the slower car in front of him. But that time, through 3 and 4, the 48 gained a lot on the 9 car.
The slower car Wally referred to, Scott Speed in the 82, the last car on the lead lap. He's currently 25th.
Yeah, and Scott's got to do everything he can right now to try to stay on the lead lap.
That 48 car is working. The way he turned left under that line coming out of turn 4 or turn 2 over there. his car was good right there. He just was patient, let it rotate.
Clear by half.
And I would guess some of this is patience on Jimmy's part, realizing how good the race car is, and we're only a third of a way through this race.
And how good his pit crew is. I mean, that's another thing. These guys come in, and easily these guys can, you know, either the 9 can maintain or the 48 can make a spot up just on a pit stop.
Green flag pit stops are underway as you see a change for the 3rd position. Burton around Montoya. And as that's happening on track on pit road, Paul Menard, Marcos Ambrose, and David Rudiman have all made stops under green. Kenseth and Hornish coming to pit road now at lap 104.
You know, Burton's been impressive. He's kind of just methodically, workmanlike, just worked his way up through the field. And you see these guys, you know, I think the 48 would have already probably been by the 9 at this point in time if it had not been for the 82 there. But the 48s give the 9 plenty of time to race, plenty of room to race. But you look at this 48. Look him roll right there. The way he rolls right in the center. Oh, the 9 car's coming in right here.
Casey Kane going to join Clint Boyer and Carl Edwards, who have already been in for service, and right behind him Montoya coming in as well. Scheduled green flag pit stops just past lap 100. Let's go to Phil Parsons.
Adam, the important thing to remember is he was able to lead on 2 tires the entire fuel run. They're going to raise the track bar a little bit. He's a little bit tight through the center of the corner and off. But right now, Casey Kane, 4 tires as our leader. Matt.
Pablo Montoya, they're going to make a chassis adjustment across the back, both sides. His car's snappy loose, but also tight. He needed help more with the tight. To Marty.
Matt, Jimmy Johnson was coming at the end of that run. You saw him battling with Casey Kane for the lead. The only thing Jimmy said during that run, the balance is right. The car a little bit too loose for Jimmy. They're going to make very, very slight wedge adjustment. Ahead of him on pit road, A.J. Allmendinger, who said his car was tight, but don't make too many big swings at it. A very small wedge adjustment for A.J. Allmendinger, who raced his way into the top 10. Phil?
Marty Dale Earnhardt Jr. had gained 20 positions from the start of the race. They're just going to clean the grill. The car's so good right now. No adjustments for the 88 car.
Ralph, here comes Kurt Busch. They're going to try to get that left rear working for him this time. Ray Gallahan shoves a jack up underneath the number 2. They're going to take 4 tires this time. Doesn't look like they're going to make just a small track adjustment to the chassis on the backside, Matt.
A long stop on the 11, Jimmy Hamlin. Meanwhile, the 24, Jeff Gordon, they're going to reverse an adjustment they made earlier with the track bar. Going to go back up, also make an air pressure change in the right rear to help the drive off the corner. He needs to drive off a little straighter and help the car cut in the center. He's away.
Point leader Kevin Harvick also came to pit road on this exchange of green flag pit stops. Ryan Newman had stayed on the racetrack, became the race leader, but now he comes for service, Ralph.
Here comes the 39 of Ryan Newman. He's tight through the center. They're going to try to get the car to rotate better, and he'd be real good at that point. He didn't get into the pit box the way he wanted to. Kind of hangs that right rear, but it's inside the line. That's key. He gets 4 tires and fuel, and he's going to get underway. A little bit of a slow stop. That'll kill you with track position here.
Can we go back and find out, hey, Marty, what did they, there was a problem on the 48. Obviously, these guys are racing for the lead, and now that they're back on the racetrack, there's a big difference between where the 9 and the 48. Did they have some trouble back there?
You see Casey Kane on track here.
Here's the interesting thing. Yeah, and Marty will get back to us. Here's the interesting thing right here. The 14 is leading the race. Remember, he didn't get his car full of fuel. He had to pit early. That shows how much time he made up when all those guys were on old tires. Now we're going to see these guys drive back past him because now they have 10 or 15 laps fresher tires. But that happens here. You see how that cycle, all of a sudden, Tony was out to lunch, a lap down, 29th, 30th, right along in there. Now that it's cycled back, the 9 car comes out obviously in front of him or comes out behind him and passes him, but he has track position if he could get a caution sometime now.
You're right on board with Tony Stewart. He's now in 2nd. Casey Kane able to go around him. Green flag pit stops complete just past lap 100 at New Hampshire. (116 laps complete at New Hampshire. You're watching NASCAR on TNT, presented by Captain Morgan. Casey Kane leads this race. We continue under green. And how important are green flag pit stops? Here are the numbers. Kane leading, Kyle Busch is 2nd, Jimmy Johnson now being scored in the 9th position. All of this changes taking place on that cycle of stops a moment